guys, Unboxing Tech here, and I'm back with the Nothing Phone 4a Pro. And for it, we're going to review 4 different cases. There wasn't much, to be honest, but these are the ones that I thought were the most interesting. So let's get to reviewing. First off, this is the standard TPU case that came along with the Nothing Phone 4a Pro. It's made entirely of TPU, so it is extremely flexible without much of a structure, to be honest, but it is slim and pretty lightweight as well. In fact, it's so slim, it only weighs around 19.1 grams. Snaps on without any issues. And here it is. Here is a close-up shot. It's just a pretty standard clear case overall. Here are the bottom cutouts, nicely centered. Here's the sides. The buttons are all covered up and easy to press and super clicky. And flipping it over to the front screen, we see that there is a lift just kind of all around the screen, especially with an elevation around the corners, which is great for when you put your phone screen down. You can be reassured that there isn't any direct contact between the table and the screen. That being said, I can't really say the same for the back camera, which is left entirely open, like so. Although there is a slight lift around this flat end of the camera bezel, along the lenses themselves, the lip is about even with the protruding lenses here. So there's virtually no real protection in that sense. And if you put your phone on the back like this, there is going to be direct contact between the tabletop and the camera lens themselves. Not great for protection overall. Other details of note is that there is a microdot embossing on the inside of the case. It doesn't really show up on the camera very well, but it's just there to keep the case from sticking onto the phone and creating like a watermark or something. The TPU texture is also just generally TPU. It's not the best in terms of gripability. However, it does pretty much, do the standard thing. It's easy to hold enough. Plus the sides are very slim, which does help it out. That all being said, I don't think Nothing gave us this case expecting us to use it until the end. I believe it's pretty much a buffer case that they put in between for when you're looking for an actual case to use. So, you don't leave your phone unprotected in the meantime, which is a great thing to have. And honestly, if you want this to be your end-all be-all case, go for it. I will say that the TPU does have a tendency to discolor over time. So if you have a black phone, it doesn't matter, but if you went with silver like I did, it'll definitely turn a dark brown, which won't look good with this case. So I do recommend maybe looking into something else, maybe one of the cases that I'm gonna be reviewing here beyond, such as the Ringke Fusion-X. This is a hybrid case made out of TPU sides and a hard polycarbonate back. The polycarbonate does a lot to help with the structural integrity of the case, keeping it pretty firm overall. It is heavier than the Nothing TPU case at 35 grams. And it does snap right on to the phone without any issues. And here it is. Looks really nice. Here's a close-up. Flipping it over to the bottom, we see that their cutouts are nicely centered. There's a strap hole over here. Another strap hole over here. The buttons are all covered up, and they have these distinctive designs on them to help differentiate which button it is. And they are easy to press and super clicky as well. Other details of note is that there is a texture along the sides of the case. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but this is great for helping grip the phone. It makes it incredibly easy to hold and just kind of hold onto. Plus the sides are flat, which do help as well. This design is protection. The corners do have a bit more oomph in them. Of course, it's not really a bulky, heavy-duty case. It's pretty slim overall, which I think is a plus, but I do feel pretty protected, and this case does feel very dependable as well. And that was the Ringke Fusion-X for the Nothing Phone 4a Pro. On Amazon, this case is priced at $18.99 for the black version. There's also a camo version, which is $19.99, so $1 more. Not sure why, don't ask. Strictly speaking, $18.99 is not that expensive for a phone case. I do believe it's on the higher price point for a case for this specific device. That being said, I don't think this is a bad price, nor do I think it's unfair for a case of this quality. Definitely something that once you buy it, you definitely don't need to replace it, nor do you need to get another case, unless you're a case collector like I am, but that's a different problem altogether. This case should definitely last the entire lifetime of your Nothing Phone 4a Pro, barring any, outside issues that, whatever. But if you're just using it day to day, I can't imagine that you'll ever need to replace it. Of course, I can't say for sure. But just from the general feel and quality of this case, this is a great case, and I think it's definitely worth this price point. If you want a bit more to your case, maybe check out this one. It's a kickstand case that I found on Amazon. It is a hybrid case with TPU sides and a polycarbonate back, so it does have some structural integrity to it. And it also has the MagSafe ring. With the addition of the MagSafe ring and the kickstand, this is our heaviest case of the day at 38 grams, which honestly isn't too bad, all things considered. And here we go. A bit of a tighter fit, but it did snap on without issues. And here it is. Here's a close-up. Checking out the bottom, we see that the cutout is nicely centered. There's a strap hole right here. The buttons are also covered up. And pretty easy to press and clicky as well. Flipping it over to the front, we see that there is a slight lift just all around the screen pretty evenly. But it's not that much, if we're going to be completely honest. And I think putting like a screen protector on this may make it even with that. The back camera also does have an open cutout, so there isn't much coverage in that aspect. That being said, there is a good amount of lift around the lip of the camera cutout, which is great for keeping off the camera from touching a tabletop when you put it on its back like so. So, as you can see, there is a MagSafe ring on this case, but despite its presence, the Nothing Phone 4a Pro doesn't have wireless charging capabilities. This thing is on. So yeah, this MagSafe ring isn't for MagSafe charging, it's for usage of accessories like this. Where, you can use MagSafe rings, you can use MagSafe wallets, whatever, you can use MagSafe stands, it just won't charge. But if you bought this phone, you should be aware of that. Just having the MagSafe ring doesn't automatically put a charging mechanism within it. It doesn't work like that. The ring is pretty strong though, so you can pretty much reliably use most accessories with it without any issues. There's also a kickstand on the bottom here. It's made out of aluminum material, and as you can see, it does have a slight slant to it, so it opens up at an angle as well. And this makes it kind of hard to use while it's vertical. It will flop over because it is kind of angled at an awkward position. It's ideally used while the phone is horizontal, like so. It's great for watching videos at the very least. You can do it this way as well. I believe the overall structural angle of it is about the same regardless of which side you use. So if you're wanting to use this kickstand for like shooting TikToks or Instagram Reels, I would probably think twice. Instead, get a kickstand that you can put on the MagSafe, and you can stand up like that instead. The overall grip that this case gives is also pretty good. The TPU feels nice and sticky in a good way. And the sides are flat. There is a bit of a bulk to it compared to the clear TPU case from earlier. That being said, it's still a good fit in the hand, and it feels nice to hold as well. This is a good quality case. You can find this case on Amazon for $15.99 USD. It's a pretty good price, and you can also apply a 10% coupon right now if you check it out. While it still lasts, I'm not guaranteeing anything. All things considered, I think $15.99 is a price point that's more than worth it for a case of this quality. It's well made, it has the MagSafe ring and the kickstand to it as well, which is already a huge bonus. Of course, some things you do want to be mindful of is that the camera cutout is left completely open, so there isn't much coverage in that front. Also, you have to remember that TPU does always have the chance of discoloration. Maybe, you know, a couple of years, or if you're unlucky, just a few months before this thing turns completely brown. In that case, depending on the type of person you are, you may want to replace it. If you don't, whatever. So you just have to be remembering that this is the price that you pay once, and then once you replace it, again and again and again, depending on how many times you have to replace this case due to discoloration. Just remember. If you're looking for something a bit more budget-friendly, but you don't like the clear TPU, here is a case from Eastcoo. This is also a TPU case, but it is completely opaque, so it does prevent the discoloration. It's a super slim and thin, flexible case, as you can see. It is slightly heavier compared to the Nothing Phone's TPU case at 24.6 grams. And putting it on, the case just snaps right on without any issues. And here it is. Here's a close-up. Flipping it over to the bottom, we see that there are individual cutouts for the speakers. And the other cutouts are nicely centered as well. There is a strap hole down here. And all the buttons are covered up. And while they are pretty easy to press, there is a lack of clickiness to them compared to the other cases we've reviewed thus far. Flipping it over to the front, the edge is also pretty minimal. If you put a screen protector on this, it'll probably be about even, or maybe even go over the edges. The back, however, is nicely covered up, well protected. There's also a bit of an edge around the ends over here. It's not much, if we're gonna be honest, but it is better than what Nothing gave us. This is a pretty minimalistic case overall. Nothing like too frilly about it. It's very sleek and slim. Just kind of even look all around. There is a dent in the corner right here where the little circle thing on this phone is, which I have no idea what it is. If you have an answer, leave it in the comments. I'd love an answer. There is some kind of coating on this case, probably to give it the color, and there's a bit of a speckled look to it. However, this coating does make this case pretty slippery, if we're being honest. It's definitely not a grippy case by any means. The slim sides do help with general hand feel, but if you have chronically dry hands, definitely this case is not going to be helping you much. But like I said, this is the budget-friendly case option that I have today. It's only $8.99 USD on Amazon, making under 10 bucks. And overall, I think this case is preferable to the TPU case that Nothing gave us, mostly because of the overall coverage level is above this one, and because it's not a clear TPU, there is no chance of discoloration. If you're just looking for something kind of slim to do the job without really getting in the way of your device, then this is a great choice to go for. Yeah, it looks nice. Although a little slippery. Of course, it's not like the most high quality material, but it does the job. And those are all the cases that I have for the Nothing Phone 4a Pro. I know it's not a big video, but these are just the cases that I could procure within a short amount of time that I had. That being said, I hope this video was of some help to you. Maybe you were curious about some of these cases and I was able to, convince you of or against them, whichever. Either way, I hope this video was of some help and I'm glad you guys stayed until the end. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.